Previously, a noble named Tigre is kidnapped on a battlefield by an enemy general called Eleonora. He is spared and joins forces with his enemy. Together, they fight many battles against another enemy called Lord Thenardier. One day, Thenardier has had enough of those two, so he sends his most dangerous knight to hunt them down. Meeting Roland, Tigre and his army starts fighting against him, but Roland turns out to be incredibly powerful and plows through Tigre's forces. Ellen engages him directly, but barely manages to hold her ground against him. Roland is impressed by her, but she ends up falling off her horse. Tigre rides and picks her up on his horse while firing an arrow into the sky. While Roland rides after them, the arrow falls, killing his horse. Sophia appears, creating an impenetrable shield of light and driving Roland's soldiers back. However, Roland remains standing and destroys the shield with his powerful sword. Being no match for him, Sophia teleports away, having bought enough time for Tigre and Ellen to get away. Leaving the soldiers, Mashes arrives at Tigre's camp, finding Tigre in bed seriously injured and with a fever. Having visited the royal palace, Mashes found out that Thenardier and Ganelon have all but taken over while the king is sick. He found out the king has lost his mind grieving over the death of his son, and Thenardier and Ganelon were the ones who actually ordered Roland to attack Tigre. Later, visiting the sleeping Tigre, Ellen grasps his hand and promises to protect Alsace in his place. The next day, Tigre wakes up not knowing what to do about Roland. His weapon leads him outside where he finds a temple and enters it together with Titta. Meanwhile, Ellen and her army face Roland once again. At the mysterious temple, Tigre finds a statue of the goddess of darkness and death. The goddess speaks through Titta and offers him power if he shows her his resolve by shooting Titta. Tigre takes an arrow and charges up his power to shoot. He gathers so much power that the arrow disintegrates before it hits Titta, and the goddess acknowledges his cleverness. On the battlefield, Ellen pulls Roland away from his main force to fight him alone. Sophia joins her, and they perform a combined attack using wind and light magic, but Roland manages to cut through it. Suddenly, Tigre appears and Roland stops him. Roland asks Tigre if he really checked his army just to protect Alsace, and Tigre confirms it. Roland falters for a moment, but he gets his resolve back and charges at Tigre. Tigre's wound reopens from the strain, but he still shoots an incredibly powerful arrow at Roland. Roland struggles but cuts through it, leaving a crater in the ground. However, he admits his defeat and surrenders, being unable to lift his arms from the strain of blocking Tigre's arrow. Sometime later, Roland tells Tigre he will arrange a meeting with the king for him, having recognized Tigre isn't a threat to the kingdom. Hearing Sasha is under attack by another war maiden, Ellen decides to go help her. In the capital of Brune, Roland tries to reach the king but gets locked in a room in the palace. Ganelon won't let him talk to the king and releases thousands of venomous bees into the room, killing Roland. Hearing this, the Thenardier is outraged because it was Roland who used to protect the western border of Brune. Ganelon doesn't worry about the western border, but tells Thenardier the southern border is about to be attacked by the kingdom of Muzinal. The kingdom of Muzinal's army of 20,000 men starts slaughtering the people of Brune and enslaving them. Hearing all this, Tigre decides to take 1,700 men to fight Muzinal's overwhelmingly huge army. Using sneak attacks and similar tactics, Tigre manages to decrease the enemy's numbers little by little. Sick of Tigre's schemes, Kasem, the Muzinalan commander, orders his soldiers to start executing their prisoners, forcing Tigre's army to react. Tigre provokes the enemy army, while another squad of his soldiers arrives at the enemy's flank. Underestimating Tigre's marksmanship, Kasem gets shot in the head by an arrow and dies. Seeing their leader is dead, the Muzinalan army gets disorganized and starts running away. That night, having taken in the prisoners, Tigre is surprised to find out that the main force from Muzinal is going to arrive soon. Since his soldiers are worn out, Tigre starts retreating with them, until they get ambushed by the Muzinalan army. Suddenly, Ludmila and her army appear and rescue Tigre and the others. After their battle, Ludmila and Tigre talk. Ludmila offers to join him together with her 4,000 soldiers if he shows her he is a capable warrior. Examining his weapon, she tells Tigre it's on par with some of the War Maiden's weapons. However, Tigre is afraid to use its full power since he doesn't understand it yet. In the end, Ludmila agrees to lend Tigre her strength so she can observe his growth. The next morning, Ellen and Lim head out to Leitmeritz to help Tigre. Meanwhile, Ludmila tells Tigre she wants him to use his archery skills to take out the leader of the enemy army. The Muzinalan army's commander is a formidable man called Curies. Later, Curies divides his army into 7 units and takes it into Tigre's territory. However, even after some time passes, Tigre's army still doesn't react. They send a message to Curies to fall back if he doesn't want to get hurt, but Curies dismisses it, prepared for a challenge. Curies' army continues advancing and reaches a mountain that Tigre and Ludmila fortified. Leaving a portion of his forces there, he lays a siege to the mountain. When his main army notices a group of refugees that were enslaved when Muse previously attacked, he decides to pursue and capture them again. However, while they're chasing after them, Tigre and Ludmila launch a surprise attack from a hill they thought was empty. At that moment, it turns out the refugees they were chasing were actually disguised soldiers, and they also attacked Curie's army. Tigre, Ludmila, and their army advance, defeating division after division, but Curie's calls for reinforcements. While Tigre and the others are advancing towards Curie's headquarters, another Musanelian division starts chasing after them. After a while, Tigre and Ludmila start having trouble fighting, getting surrounded by the enemy. Suddenly, 5,000 knights sent by different nobles who decided to support Tigre arrive. It turns out both Muse and Roland contacted powerful nobles around the land and helped Tigre get their support. Curie's wisely decides it is time to withdraw completely. That night, an envoy sent by Curie's ends the war and Tigre and Ludmila finally win. The next day, Ellen returns and immediately starts fighting with Ludmila over Tigre, getting jealous of how well they're getting along now. Drinking with Ellen under the moonlight, Tigre apologizes to Ellen for getting so many of her soldiers killed, but Ellen tells him he fought courageously and did his best. 4 days later, Tigre and his army hide in a fort of one of the nobles he has recently joined forces with. Ludmila stays with them because the king ordered her to keep an eye on Ellen. Talking to Lim and Muse, Tigre finds out someone who looks exactly like the murdered prince of Brune was seen. At that moment, Regin enters the room, telling Tigre she's actually Brune's prince, Regnus. Instead of being killed, what everyone thought happened, she has been kidnapped in the confusion of battle. She always acted like she was a boy because women can't succeed Brune's throne. Regin remembers that in Artesium, the capital of Ganelon's territory, and there's a door only the king and his family knows how to open. Since the prime minister knows this too, she can prove to him that she is the princess, and Tigre decides to take her there. Meanwhile, Thenardier managed to gather 5 powerful dragons for his army. Ganelon hears about this and realizes Thenardier is now stronger than him, but stays calm. He has also predicted that Tigre will take Regin to Artesium, so he hatches a plan. Meanwhile, Sophia is sent to Brune as an emissary. She meets Valentina on the way, a black-haired girl and another of the war maidens. Valentina acts suspiciously, saying she came to the capital of Zecta to gather information. Later, Tigre and the others find out Ganelon burned Artesium down and disappeared afterward. On their way to Artesium, Tigre and the others face Thenardier's army, and a large battle breaks out. Ellen and Ludmila focus on fighting the dragons and manage to kill all but 2 of them. However, the 2 remaining dragons prove to be much powerful than the others, somehow blocking their magic attacks. Before noon, both armies retreat. Regrouping with the others, Ellen concludes that the 2 remaining dragons have chains that cancel magic wrapped around them. 4 hours later, the armies clash again. Tigre's army reorganizes, wanting to appear weak to Thenardier. When Thenardier's army advances, Tigre's army retreats, pulling Thenardier's men with them and leaving Ellen and Ludmila to fight against the dragons again. Strategically fighting without using magic, the 2 war maidens manage to defeat one of the dragons. However, the other dragon is harder to kill, since he is heavily armored. While Ludmila distracts him, Ellen launches herself into the air, pierces the dragon's weak spot, and activates a powerful spell, destroying it from the inside. In the meantime, Tigre held his ground against Thenardier's army and forced them to run away. Tigre decides they will continue their journey towards Artesium and try to enter the secret room from the underground. Their goal is entering the Holy Grotto, a cave where the founder of Brune, called Charles, got divine guidance and decided to become king. There are 3 entrances to that place, and they decide to reach it through to the Temple of Masha. The next day, Tigre and the others reach a small temple. With Regin's help, they find a secret stairway and descend down it. Advancing further, they are stopped by Thenardier and a part of his army. Thenardier is bent on killing Regin, but Tigre and the others protect her, fighting his soldiers. Thenardier sends his strongest warrior, a shaggy swordsman called Steed. Ellen fights her way towards Thenardier and faces him head-on, but he is strong. Meanwhile, Tigre and his soldiers defend Regin from Steed, who proves to be formidable as well. Suddenly, the cave starts collapsing and both armies are forced to retreat. Waking up in the collapsed cave, Tigre sees Steed dead, crushed by debris. Nearby, he also sees Bertrand on the brink of death, having been cut by Steed's sword. Bertrand is happy he could sacrifice himself for his lord. He is proud of Tigre and dies, telling him to take care of Titta. Outside, Ellen and the others ride towards Artesium. Suddenly, they see a huge blue column of light, and Ellen recognizes it's Tigre's doing. In Artesium, they find the town demolished and its citizens miserable. In the middle of a giant crater, Ellen finds Tigre alive, but realizes Bertrand is dead. That night, Tigre is devastated by Bertrand's death. In the moment he realized Bertrand died, he was able to unleash the full power of his magic weapon and break through the cave to the surface. Ellen visits him, asking him what he wants to do next, but he doesn't know yet. She tells him she will fight with pride whatever they end up deciding to do. In the past, she used to be a wandering mercenary with no home, but she was always proud of herself. Hearing this, Tigre realizes he can't keep grieving forever and stands up. He decides to hold a funeral for Bertrand as soon as he returns to Alsace. Ellen makes him realize he doesn't have to fight to protect Alsace. If he restores the trade routes between Alsace and Leitmeritz, he can make Alsace into a valuable trading town. The next day, Brun's prime minister, Bedouin, visits Tigre and the others. He immediately recognizes Regine as the king's daughter and reports that the king has finally recovered his reason but has been poisoned by Ganelon. Asking Tigre what he wants to do next, Tigre tells him he wants to defeat Thenardier. Bedouin respects his decisions but tells him they need to hurry to Nice and visit the king, who is dying. On their way to Nice, Tigre and his army clashes with Thenardier's forces. Lim realizes Thenardier's troops are more disorganized than usual, thinking it's because their leader, Steed, died in the cave. Somewhere else, Tigre, Ellen, and Ludmila face Thenardier himself. Thenardier tells Tigre he wanted to conquer Alsace so he could prevent Jected from interfering with him and wanted to burn the territory to the ground. Tigre gets determined to defeat him, while Thenardier wants to avenge his son Zion. Tigre charges up his magic arrow but almost loses control because of his rage. Ellen punches him, getting him back to his senses. His senses restored, Tigre calmly takes a single arrow. The arrow flies but changes direction with the wind, making Thenardier unable to block it. It pierces his forehead, killing him and ending the war. Tigre won the fight entirely with his own skill and determination, without interference from Ellen or her sword. Somewhere else, Ganelon is preparing to secretly leave, joined by Valentina. Sometime later in Nice, everyone is celebrating Tigre's victory and Princess Regine's return. That night, Tigre, Ellen, and the others visit the King of Brun. The king apologizes for not being able to do anything and wants to reward Tigre. Tigre wants the Kingdom of Brun to agree to a 3-year peace pact with the Kingdom of Jected, and the king agrees. Regine signs the contract, establishing her position as the future queen. The king also gives Tigre the special title of Knight of the Moonlight. Several days later, the king dies peacefully. In the end, Alsace came under Tigre and Ellen's joint control. Hey, thank you for staying all the way till the end. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. It takes only a second, but it means everything to us. Have a great day and see you in the next video.